Well, hey, everybody, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Performance Enhanced Benefits Podcast, where the purpose of this is to help business owners bring them value from subject matter experts in their area of field. Today, I'm going to be joined by Kellie Vincent. Kellie is the managing principal of Kellie Vincent CPA in Prosper, Texas. Kellie, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you today, Stephen?
I'm doing well. Obviously, we both chatted before we got started here that we're finally getting some cool Texas weather. I think it's 80
Yeah.
degrees versus the typical 105 that we had this summer. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a change for us here. But
Yeah, it
Kellie,
should
why
be
don't we
good.
start just by telling us everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Louisiana native living here in Texas and enjoying every bit of it. My family of three boys and my husband all live here in Prosper. And I started my practice right at 7 years ago. And I just really enjoy working with small business owners, helping them be able to really learn their business, learn how to save taxes, which is huge. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, most importantly, too, is adding money to their, or, adding an increase to their bottom line. So basically make more money and spend less to the IRS. So it's my goal and plan.
I think most people would agree that that's what they want to do. They want to have more in their bottom line, and they're paying Uncle Sam less than they
Exactly.
possibly want. So obviously, it's great to have to know CPAs and people to help them out with that process. But obviously, you've been doing this now for 7 years. So how did you get started with it? What made you want to get into being a CPA, but also starting your own practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in my own practice for 7 years and I've been a CPA for a little over 15. And part of my career back was in public accounting, and then the other part was in corporate. And then I started my practice. So what was really exciting is why I went into accounting was really to help and learn. I actually watched my grandfather, who was an entrepreneur in Louisiana. I just really saw his relationship with a CPA, and I
Okay.
always, when I decided to go into that career, that's exactly what I wanted. So it took me a little while to get here and start my practice, but I learned a lot of tools throughout that period. And so when I started my practice, I knew exactly where I wanted to be. And that's exactly how I've planned out my practice and how things run.
Okay, well, just a couple of those then. We'll go a little bit off script here then, but I was from a standpoint of, well, what are some of those tools then that you kind of you took and you implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. Relationship means a lot. Whenever you're a small business owner and there's several ways to go about, or you're getting a letter from the IRS, or you've heard someone's doing something and you just need advice, you need someone to call. You need that
Hmm.
person that's in your back pocket that you can trust. And so relationship is key number one to me in my practice, a very boutique practice, that I can have that one-on-one relationship and learn those business owners. And then the other tools there are really learning to understand your business from a financial perspective. So not only what operations that you're doing or the day-to-day activities, but how does that impact you financially? Just from being able to, one, grow that profit, and then third is really goal planning, right? So we hear
Hmm.
about that a lot in different aspects of life, but it also very much applies to your business, is how to really plan and be intentional with your business. So those would be the main tools, that I definitely recommend business owners having in their toolbox, and then knowing how to utilize those.
No, it makes perfect sense. So, we talk about goal setting in a lot of different areas of our lives. Many times we don't think about it from a financial aspect to our own business,
Yes.
or whatever it may be. You've talked a lot
That is
about
fun,
already. Just
right?
definitely, especially for those that are goal oriented. Being able to set a goal and a task to something, I'm sure is going to be it helps them to make sure that they're tracking along the way that they want to go.
Yeah.
But you've talked a lot, you mentioned a lot, business, obviously when it comes to taxes, I think a lot of people, the first thing they think about is their own individual tax returns. So what's kind of the major difference between as you're preparing for business or individual returns? How can they be differentiated?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and one that a lot of times is not understood. And so
Hmm.
The majority of business returns do not pay their own taxes. So the majority of small business ownership, the taxes come through that individual return. And so really, when you think about that, everybody's return looks different. It's kind of like your own
Hmm.
DNA. It's, what really makes up your household income. You might have inheritance, you might have some distributions from somewhere, and then you also add in your business income. And so it really does make things look a lot different than your next door neighbor or another like kind business owner. And so just really understanding how your taxes work. So there are definitely tax strategies in your entity type. And so what would make them most advantage is from a taxation, short-term and long-term for your business. So some things that might, from a taxation standpoint, entity that might ring bells are like S corporations or
Hmm.
your LLCs. And there's a lot of pieces that go into those. And it's really understanding how does that impact you from an individual taxpayer, and really how to strategize and be in the best position for that.
Yeah, that was good. I was actually leading into my next question of how does preparation vary based on the structure of their business? Someone's an S corp, C corp, or maybe they're a single member LLC, or they're a small business owner that's still using their social security number for operating their business. How does that look differently for each kind of I guess business entity?
Yeah, well, that's when the good old government gets involved,
Okay.
right? Because the different entity structures have different requirements from the IRS, and some are a lot. They're very specific for business owners to understand and what they have to file. It's not only from a federal standpoint, but also from a state,
Okay.
what is required. So it's honestly like from an S corporation that a lot of times business owners hear, so and so's an S corp and they're saving so much money. Well, again, it really goes down to really looking at what are the requirements of an S corporation. Does that really make sense? They're always, to me, we always look at the cost benefit, right?
Hmm.
What is it going to cost me in order to get me X benefit? And always make sure that that return of investment is worth it. So every entity type has a different structure, has different tax forms. A lot of them have different tax due dates. And so not only, again, from a federal standpoint, but also from a statewide, it's really important to understand what you're dealing with and just really to make sure you're in compliance.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. With all the different structures, you want to make sure that you're following the letters of the law when it comes to certain things. But also, it may make sense for them to limit their tax liability, which of course leads into the next question of should people always question what they're paying in taxes, or should they just take that? Hey, you know what? It's coming from the IRS. They're probably correct.
Absolutely. So I love that, a lot of times I have conversations with people and they say, "Oh, I don't pay anything in taxes. Like I get this big refund at the end of the year." And really, honestly, we think, "Hey, I'm getting money back. I'm doing something good." And really, every single taxpayer, no matter if you own a business or you don't, always question, always look into what am I missing or what advantages could be out there that I'm already participating in and I'm not taking advantage of that. There's over 300 tax strategies that apply to US citizens. And so it's really asking those questions, again, having an accountant that's versed in those strategies and really be able to look at your tax situation and say if you've got some opportunities there or not. It definitely does not cost you anything. It could definitely put quite a bit of money in your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, to 300, I certainly didn't know that there were 300 different options. So yeah, it sounds like there are a lot of different ways for someone to be able to make sure that they're reducing what they're having to pay back each year. And then as a reminder too, that those refunds we're getting to are really just an overpayment on what we paid in to begin with. So trying to figure out how do we continue those processes and making sure we're not paying as much. But from a business owner standpoint, of course, too, they hire experts in every field to help them with their books, setting up the business, LLCs, whatever the structure is that they want to do. But
Right.
being a CFO does a lot of times they may put it on the onus of the accountant, but should a business owner also be playing CFO within their own business also?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe as an accountant that the CFO role of a business owner is really the top positions that an owner plays in their business. And a lot of times because maybe money or maybe financials don't really resonate with them, like they're into the passion of how they're serving or what they're doing in their business, that the financial end just kind of gets put to the back burner, or there's
Hmm.
a bookkeeper, there's someone that's taking care of that, and so they really think, well, I'll get to that at tax time. But really, as CFO of your business, what you're able to do is put some really good tools in your toolbox to be able to access and to really look at how your business is doing. It's basically you're changing the game real time. You're able to look and see what's truly working in your business and what isn't, what's costing you money, where you can really save. And so a lot of times, like what I feel like as far as having a toolbox, it's not necessarily that the owner's having to go out and do that work, right? It's doing the bookkeeping or really just the day-to-day financial operations. But what that business owner could do is be able to utilize what someone else is already doing by using those tools that are there. So understanding, like really getting into financial literacy of their business, understanding seasonality, and really what is the trend in their business, also what are the industry averages of that business, and really run those as comparatives just to see what opportunities are there. And to me, that's the sweet spot to be able to really look at the financials and make decisions, and then put those back into those goals, right? Really knowing where the goals of the business are and how to put those financial pieces in with the goals that have been created is really a strong avenue that you're on the right track and that you're going in the right direction.
So you're not saying, hey, every business owner, I want you to add more to your plate and be the bookkeeper, do all this. You're just saying they need to have a better understanding and literacy of what each maybe line item means on their P&L statements, for an example, or budgetary statements, whatever it is. Is that fair to say?
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
I actually do not think it is advantageous for an owner to do their own books. I actually don't do my own books. Just because we can do things doesn't necessarily mean we need to. And
Mhm.
so where we really look at the value of our time, where we should be spending our time, there are experts out there that can do it a lot better and a lot quicker than we can, and can give us that great advice, and we can lean on them and really be able to have them as our team, and that we can trust what's being done. And really, from a financial service, having a good bookkeeper is an absolute must.
Okay, that's good advice for people to have, is being a bookkeeper, but also understanding their own numbers. Because ultimately, if a business scales enough and they say, "Hey, you know what? I want to get out of this. I want to maybe sell one
Yeah,
day,"
yeah.
they at least understand the numbers that are in that. So that kind of leads into my next question. Is there ever a right or wrong time for a business that's wanting to sell their business to do so?
Yeah, you cannot start too soon to have the end in mind. So, what a lot of times business owners, what we do is that, and I'm putting my own self in this, throwing
Hmm.
my own self under the bus here, is that we are so much in the day to day about what's going to happen, right here in the near future. And we're not looking at, why are we working? Like, what are we doing here? What is the legacy that we want to create? What is the business that we really want to create? What does retirement look like? So many business owners, we don't take the time to ask those questions. And I know baseball's a really big deal to you, and it is
Yeah.
to me too. My son is a pitcher, and so I really equate it to a pitcher throw into a catcher, right? You've got to have that target. You have to know
Hmm.
where you're going. You have to know where you're throwing and really be able to target in. And so by having an idea of what does an exit strategy look like, what does my exit of this business look like? It does not mean you have to stop working. That's what a lot of time business owners like, well, I want to do this forever. And that's great. That's part of an exit strategy, actually. But by really putting in exit strategy, exit planning, not only are you growing from an intentional standpoint with the end in mind, but you're also creating value in your business today. You're really creating efficiencies in your operations. You're growing that bottom line. You're creating goals that are measurable within a 90-day increments. And by doing that, you're really growing to that target. And
Hmm.
so I'm a big believer in exit strategy. I'm actually a certified exit planning advisor,
Okay.
called a CPA. And really my training has been on helping small business owners really understand what does that mean? Because I think a lot of times in the world that we're in, exit planning means such a final decision, and it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
But to me, I really equate it to being prepared, creating a legacy and being prepared. And every business owner I have ever talked to, that's how they want to feel. They want to feel prepared. They want to feel like they're in control, and they want to make a difference and
Yeah.
goal, right? And so for future generations to come, I mentioned my grandfather earlier. He created such a legacy for our family, completely changed generations to come, even after me, because of the hard work and things that he did in his business. And his businesses are still running in Louisiana, even though he's in heaven. So I think it's just really important to really have that end in mind and really strategize to that.
That makes perfect sense. Having that goal, having that end in mind. Stephen Covey talks about that in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
That you begin with the end in mind, and if you're able to set targets, like you said, along the way, it helps you to kind of track where you are along that process. Obviously, I think a lot of us, we either get caught up in one or two different things. Really, it's the day-to-day minutia, or
Yes.
it's we have this grandiose goal vision that we want to have, and then we forget what it means to get there, and or how we're going to get there, and not necessarily be as intentional as we want to be. I know we were talking offline. We were talking about just being intentional can pay, you know, can serve you for lifetimes to come. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I try to show up every day intentional, present, being present, really knowing where you're going, just thinking of that dartboard and that,
Hmm.
when you know where you're going, you're like more likely to get there. And I think too that when we look at it, like I think our overall long-term goals, they don't really change that much. Now, maybe some of the
Yeah.
details do, but I don't see these long-term goals really changing significantly, but it's able to give you that, how am I going to show up today that's going to impact tomorrow, and really be able to structure your days, structure your mindset, structure your business, who you're hiring, right? So your key employees of your business, what they're doing, what culture you're putting into your business, all of that is intentionality
Yeah.
based on where you're wanting to go, right? Um, and so I call that exit planning.
Okay.
A lot of other people call that being intentional, growing value in your business. And
Hmm.
did you know that 70% of small business owners' portfolio is their business? So
I
when
did
they're
not know
really,
that.
yes, so it's a large percentage. And so my goal is to help small business owners really take advantage of that investment, because you show
Hmm.
up every single day and you're doing the hard work, and we want to capture that hard work. We don't want to pay much taxes on it, right? We
Yeah.
want to really do some tax strategy on the overall sale, but we really want to grow that from being able to recognize all that hard work and be able to have a monetary value that goes with that. And I think a lot of times we see that as really complicated, that it's
Hmm.
like, nobody's going to want to buy my business, or I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And that's where just starting is huge. Just starting that plan, and being able to know what that looks like, and just really have that from an increment standpoint is huge.
No, it makes perfect sense. And it seems like all of these things kind of go hand in hand as far
Yeah.
as like what your strategies are with having conversations around that with clients and people just in general, of making sure that they understand taxes and things of that. But kind of as we're wrapping up here, what's one maybe final piece of advice that you would give people around whether it be exit planning or tax preparation for their business?
Yeah, just have fun.
Okay.
Have fun. Enjoy your business.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy, and I'm thinking really to the small business owners, but also those that are hustling out in the corporate world. Like life's short, and
Mm-hmm.
just really enjoy what you're doing and really find that what's getting you up every morning and moving you. And if it's not, evaluate and ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself why and what can change. I mean, I had talked a little bit about, prior to me starting my practice, and I had a great career, but it didn't fill my cup. And even when I started my business, like I said, it's right now in 7 year, I'm about to celebrate my 7th birthday of being a business owner. But some of those years in the beginning, it wasn't filling my cup. And I really asked myself why. And I've made the investments to make those changes. It's never too late. It's never too
Mm-hmm.
late because you want to really enjoy and really give what you've been called to give. So,
Yeah, that's great advice. Just have fun, but also it's never too late. You can always reanalyze and making sure that you're investing in yourself, and hopefully, of course, paying the less in taxes as you make those
yes,
investments, of course, too, right?
absolutely.
Well, Kelly, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can email at admin at kvcpa.com.
All right. Well, Kelly, I appreciate your time today and your expertise on business preparation and exit strategy strategies. Again, everybody, this has been Stephen Snyder, another edition of the Performance Enhanced Benefits Podcast. Look forward to speaking to you next time. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.